And welcome again to another high vibe channeling session. This one is for March 26th, 2026. And today we have the esteemed Chuck Crom and his higher self D'setu, who have been together for 30 years or so. Chuck is a long-time explorer of consciousness and existence and humanity's role in it. And he shares his wisdom through several media, his podcast, Freeform Spiritual Wisdom, which is also, and then a Facebook page, The Home We've Never Left, his group Embracing Boundlessness, which um, he formed with Willow Dobson. And you can also find The Home We've Never Left on Facebook and on YouTube. And in the between all of this, he's also renovating his website. So anything else
Rating
you
it.
would like to add? One of
Uh,
our favorites anyway.
no, no, just glad to be with you guys again. It's always a good time. I always love the way that everybody's energy feels together. It's always really, really nice. So I enjoy it immensely. It's what was it? I think one of these times, um, the last time I did something like this, and you guys are going, "What the heck is he talking about so far?" Um, the last time that there was, and it's been a while, that I was in attendance anyway, that there's been a group channeling session. What I did was I got a prompt from D'setu that instead of connecting with the individuals that were channeling, in other words, the physical expression, to connect instead to where that was flowing from. And so I did that, and it was really a cool experience. Um, and so I've always thought I'd want to do that again at some point when individuals, I'd have to be an observer, of course, and it could even be when someone else was channeling, and then just to connect into people while they were participating and even listening to whoever it was that was channeling. But I haven't taken the opportunity to do that yet, so I thought that would be cool. I think it worked out really well that one time because the energy was so powerful as each individual stepped forward to do some channeling, when there was a question asked. So I think it made the energy easy to pick up on and to connect with. So yeah, it was really enjoyable. I liked it. Um, but that's neither here nor there. I don't even know where that came from. But anyway, so yeah, I suppose we'll just get started. So once again, we would greet all of you and express, as we always do, our appreciation for your participation in the energy that we're all sharing together tonight. Because, of course, it's always additive each time any of you participate for us as well. So it's very appreciated. So we're going to take a direction to begin with that you may wonder why. But as we play with it a little bit, eventually we believe that you will understand. And then we plan, as Chuck was mentioning, to then head a different direction a little bit. So let's say that you are in the stands of a tennis court, and you're the only individual there for some particular reason. And as you sit there in those stands looking down at the tennis court, it's vacant. There's nothing there. Then one of the players walks in, and then the other player walks in, perhaps from the other side. The umpire that sits above the net walks in and takes their position, and perhaps the people who retrieve the balls, if it's necessary, walk in and take up their positions. And then events begin to occur. So, as you have observed the various expressions that have gone on from the time that there was nothing going on, you were witnessing various actions that were occurring on the tennis court. Everything that happened was an action, of course. Let's say that instead you are watching somebody who is a singer of some type. Could be opera. Maybe they have a band behind them. Really doesn't make any difference. And as that individual shares with the audience what they share it through a variety of actions that are occurring. The breathing in and out, the changes in the tautness of the vocal cords, maybe the gestures of the body, all the things that are happening within the body, perhaps the activity that's going on in the brain as the words show up in the mind that are going to be sung. All the things that happen again are actions. So, in fact, from the time that you, and we'll just focus on your physical expression in this moment, from the time that you wake in the morning till the time that you fall asleep, quote unquote, again at night, what you have done all day long is expressed yourself through various actions, whether those actions are neurological, physiological within the body, or things that you've actually done, quote unquote, outside you. Action after action after action. If you look in the body, you have all the cells in the body, again, performing various actions. All sorts of things are going on. If you go a little deeper, you have the molecules of the body and the actions that are occurring there. The atoms, if we again continue that way of looking at things, and the actions that are occurring there. So it's all action. There's action going on all the time. All things that you do are action. And of course, the amount of action that occurs in your life is very diverse. Many, many things going on in one day. And then if we think about all the individuals on the planet and all the action that's happening with all those individuals, with all the things that they're doing, it's incredibly diverse. And that's just a small part of what all of consciousness is doing in any particular moment. Lots and lots and lots of action. Everything that occurs is some expression of action, of consciousness, of course. So, this is what you're doing in your existence. You're expressing yourself through actions, through unlimited actions, a whole variety of variegated actions. Now, within your experience, as a result of the influences that you've had within this particular experience, and in association with certain beliefs that you have all incorporated into this particular physical dimension, you have a tendency to prefer certain actions. And still a tendency with those actions that you don't prefer to judge them at various times. Not just as actions that you don't prefer to participate in, but as actions that are somehow wrong or bad are not expressed the way that they should be. So, of course, this is from the physical perspective. That infinite you, of course, has no such judgmental expression towards any of the actions that it expresses. So you've heard from many sources that express in some way, shape, or form the subject matter of the change that you're all going through, especially in this new millennium. And that the version of that change that you experience has got to do with the way you express yourself in relation to, we'll call it in this moment, that environment that surrounds you. And of course, that environment includes other individuals, animals, plants, situations, circumstances, many things. Because, of course, and all of you are aware of this, so just as a reminder, all of consciousness is connected to all of consciousness. And so there is no aspect of consciousness, even if within this particular experience it can seem like that many times, that you are disconnected from. That theme, as you progress within your shift, will move, in a sense, more and more to the forefront, where your recognition of that connectivity will be an integral part to the experiences that you allow yourself to have. At this point, what we would like to do is we would like to briefly visit a topic that's been expressed in particular by two individuals like ourselves who have had your familiarity for many years in regard to a subject matter that they have termed the families of consciousness. You may have familiarity with this, you may not. But briefly, within this particular dimension, your physical dimension, there are 9, shall we say, groupings of consciousness. And we'll utilize a timeline as we express these ideas because it will make more sense. So let us back up a step. So in your dimension and in association with your dimension, there is an idea that is prevalent sometimes for many individuals that at some point in time, your physical dimension will no longer exist. That is not actually how it works. Your dimension will always exist. It has always existed. It is expressed perpetually. It is, shall we say, maybe we'll call it in the moment, a vacation spot that other aspects of consciousness can choose to participate in. And we'll just phrase it in this way at any time. Now, there are perhaps, we'll call them in this moment, caretakers of your dimension. And more than that, those groupings of consciousness who conceived of this particular type of expression of a dimension. As you choose in your endless exploration of consciousness to participate in this exploration, you make basically a choice as you make the choice to do that. You make a choice to explore it just as a traveler. You just want to come in, explore it a little bit, and then leave it with the experiences that you've had. Others choose to explore it in a different way. And it is only that, a choice of experience. Others choose to become more familiar with the awarenesses and understandings of those caretaker expressions. Again, we'll call them in this moment. And as a result of that, your experience here becomes different. Neither is better, they're only different. They are a choice of exploration. Now, there are in your physical dimension 9 gatherings of consciousness that have been termed by these other individuals families of consciousness. And each of them have a type of a flavor, shall we say, that they like to lend to an exploration. And if you choose to explore this particular dimension, you will have a part of yourself that will become familiar with that and utilize those flavors as part of your exploration. And we're going to be very simplistic here. Now, there are those individuals throughout your planet that in, shall we call it, more ancient times, you would call native type peoples. Peoples who had an understanding of their connection with nature, people who didn't feel hurried in their life, people who understood that there was a natural movement in life, that they didn't need to push life, things of that nature. Now, you have a very different world now. You have large cities all around your planet. Your cultures are very different than what they used to be before. But still, within those cultures, you will have individuals who are expressed from those larger aspects of themselves, and they, in their theme of exploration, have chosen that type of an exploration. You may see them in their life as unmotivated. Why don't they live their life, shall we say, as participants in society, adding something to society, instead of just living their life in a way that whatever shows up in my life is fine? And we're not talking necessarily individuals that you would call spiritually oriented, but just regular individuals who, to those individuals who have quite a bit of motivation in life, seem not to be pulling their share of the load, shall we say. But it's because they have a strong orientation with one of these groups to explore their experience of physical reality in a particular way. Another group that all of you here are quite familiar with are groups that are quite interested in individuals that express themselves from other dimensions. You tend to call them here extraterrestrials. These individuals capture your attention in a very great way. You disseminate that information to other individuals, And this has gone on in various ways throughout your history. There are individuals instead who are very, very associated with having and raising children. They give themselves totally to that experience. Their interaction with their children is much different than almost anybody else's interaction with children. They gain information from children in a way that you gain information from various sources that you may listen to or read. There are individuals who express themselves very physically in your world, whether it be through sports, gymnastics, ballet. Again, they express themselves in their energetic way, in a way that fills them and speaks not only to them, but to other individuals who are similarly inclined. And so you find these differences. And even though you can find individuals on the planet that express qualities of these nine families in a fairly, shall we call it in this moment, pure way, many, many times you'll find them mixed and matched, which is what consciousness loves to do in its exploration. So we speak of this because we're going to return to some degree to a subject matter that we have discussed at other times, and that is of acceptance. Acceptance of yourself, of course, and acceptance of others. Many of you are still not aware enough of your own deeper self to understand the motivations behind why individuals around you express themselves in the way that they do. And this is even without considering the influences that they've had within their physical existence. Just the flow of energy that they've chosen to align with as they've chosen to explore your reality. So, in that, as you move through your environment and as you make the choices that you want to make, because to you, those choices make sense. To you, those are the things that you prefer to do in the ways that you prefer to do them. And of course, that's a process. You move closer and closer and closer to being able to do that. As you move towards your desire, which we believe you all hold, which is to exist on a planet that expresses itself in a particular way. What will be important for you also is to allow others their choices also, to actually accept their choices. Because again, by and large, you're really unfamiliar with what it is that influences them to make the choices that they're making. And sometimes the choices that they're making and the way that they're expressing themselves is very different than how you do it. If you think about all the various things that have occurred on your planet, many very nice things, many things that are quite challenging even to think about. And you wonder, why would you explore a place and have those types of experiences? But if you knew that in actuality you were invulnerable, if you knew that in actuality your existence never ceases, regardless of what it seems like from those that are within the experience, then you have a freedom to explore that experience in any way, shape, and form that you want to. Sometimes, when you're within the experience itself can feel unsettling. It can provide you with a little anxiety, perhaps even a little bit of fear. And really, that is to some degree to be expected. Because, of course, again, what you've done here is you have, in essence, experientially separated yourself from all of the knowledge of who and what you are. This experience, as much as you may think it is your natural experience, is a very foreign experience for you. This is not your natural state of expression and being. Your unboundedness is your natural state of expression and being. The state that you return to each night as you close your eyes and drift off to sleep. That is, in that way of saying things, your natural state. This is something that is very new to you in that regard. It is an exploration that is something that you are not used to. And so, in that, sometimes it can be a little unsettling for you. So, amongst the other things that can influence you and cause you those issues, that is there as well. So, regardless of the direction that you choose, and regardless of the way that you would like to express yourself, we are understanding that there's a cooperation, a manner in which you would like to share energy with individuals around you on a consistent basis, where acceptance is really the feeling of the day, perhaps we'll say, not only for yourself, but for everybody else, and that flows naturally from you. And so as you go through your day, of course, attempt, if you can, to keep just a little bit more of your focus on yourself than you have on the world around you. And the term that you utilize called mindfulness is something that is a powerful tool for you in the moment that you're expressing yourself, to be aware of what was it that was occurring within me that then incited me, perhaps we might say, to express myself in that particular way. If you can, when somebody else is expressing themselves in a challenging way, perhaps you can take the opportunity to maybe energetically connect with them to see if you can get some insight into why it may be that they're expressing themselves in that particular way. But you may not be able to. So, in that, it can be all that you need to do in an understanding that you may not be aware of all the reasons why this person expresses themselves in the way that they are in that moment. But their choices are okay. Now, if those choices are, shall we say, pointed in your direction, then one of the things that you might want to do, and you may not be able to do those till later, is to again recall that you're the one that's creating your experience of your reality. So, why did you bring that particular experience into your reality? Why, for you, did you bring it in your reality? And of course, you'll have to interact with that experience and do with it what you can. There is something you can do, and we shared this within the past several days, that can be helpful in situations that are like that. If you have an interaction with an individual that is more challenging than you would like it to be, for just a very short period of time, perhaps a couple of seconds, do not focus on the other individual. Bring your focus entirely to yourself and choose something about yourself that you appreciate in that moment and dwell on that appreciation for just a short time. And then bring yourself back to the situation. And when you do, then choose something about the individual and appreciate something about the individual. It can be the color of their hair, the style of their shoes, the color of their pants, their shirt, whatever it might happen to be, perhaps the scent that they have on that day, whatever it might happen to be. Because again, as you do this, the choice of appreciation and the way that it changes your energy field, and in that, the way that it changes your interaction with all of your reality around you is altered. And your experience can shift as a result of that. So that is something that you can practice if you would like. So again, in this, as we laid perhaps what we might call the foundation, it was really to help you to understand that all actions and all experiences are valid within this expression of your reality, within this particular dimension. And of course, you, within the flow of this particular focus of yourself, are going to have your own preferences. And of course, that is just fine. There's nothing wrong with that particular thing. And again, sometimes the process is to get to a place where you can allow yourself the choice of your preferences all the time. Part of that will also be to allow the preferences of other individuals. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to like their preferences. You can dislike their preferences and still accept that they are valid for them, even though you know it's something you would never do in your life. It is strongly different than how you would express yourself. That's an entirely different thing. It doesn't mean you have to like how they express themselves. Acceptance and liking are two completely different things. Acceptance means that consciousness is expressing itself in a valid way, regardless of what that expression is. Liking is about you, your life, and your preferences. And it is, of course, totally fine for you to have your preferences and to like what you like, and even to dislike how other people express themselves. But to accept that they have the ability to express themselves in that way, just like you have the ability to express yourselves in the way that you do. So, with that, we will close what it is that we want to share with you tonight. And of course, invite you if you have questions about what we've shared, things that they've stimulated in you that you'd like to ask questions about, or any comments you'd like to make, please feel free.
And thank you very much for that, Chuck. And there are so many different layers, are to say too, as well, of our experience. And since the great many of all conscious explorations are non-physical, and I learned today that our Earth presence is the only, well, not the only, because apparently Mars too, but there are non-physical presences on every planet. And Mars still has some physical presence. Do any of the other ones? And will they be interacting with humans? Well, never mind, because I know they're interacting with humans on a regular basis. So we'll scrap that one and go with the first one. Thank you.
We'll use a term that you've become familiar with through various sources: vibration. So, your planet has been visited many, many, many times by individuals of other dimensions. And because their dimensions are different than yours, which in effect means that there's a different vibration that's going on, as they visit your planet, it is barren. There is nothing here. It is nothing but like a moon like sphere that travels through the heavens. Some have an awareness to be able to shift their consciousness to pick up the vibratory state that you use as you express your dimension. So, as you look about you in the dimension that you've created to the various planets that you've brought in as part of that expression. There is a great deal of activity that's going on all of those planets. You, at this stage in your awareness of consciousness, are not going to be aware of the activity that's occurring. Now, once your shift is complete, that will be a different story. You will have pulled the curtain aside, shall we say. You will have a huge amount of awareness at your fingertips. You will be able to explore many, many, many different dimensions and recognize those dimensions. Move through them in a knowing way once your shift is at its completion. And of course, that will be at different times for different individuals. Some may do it a little earlier than others. There are actually some on your planet already who had that ability. Few, but some. So, yes, regardless of which body in your heavens that you point at, there are civilizations, there is activity that's going on there. It's only your ability to tune into, again, different vibratory rates, perhaps we would say, that prevents you from being able to be aware that that activity is there occurring.
You almost can't shake a stick in this neighborhood without hitting form of consciousness.
You may be aware that others have reminded you that even, and we'll express it this particular way, even the planet that you stand on at this particular moment contains, in this same, shall we say, space configuration, just to make it easy, all dimensions of existence.
Amazing. And thank you. And Angie.
Welcome.
Greetings to say too. Thank you so much for coming and
Here.
being with us and for that lovely, lovely teaching. When you were speaking about the different experiences or explorations that souls choose to have, it reminded me of something that I've been wondering about uh, in my own soul's exploration. I'm having a difficulty distinguishing between an attachment and like a soul contract. How do you distinguish the difference? Like if you're having a problem letting go of something, is it because it's an attachment that I'm supposed to be dealing with and learning how to let go of? Or is it that I can't let go because it's a soul contract kind of thing, something that I'm supposed to be or my soul wants to be exploring right now?
So, when you choose to move into this physical dimension, there are directions that, in that moment, we'll phrase it, you would like to point yourself in your exploration. However, you have a great degree of freedom once you find yourself within the experience, especially within the movement that's going on for all of you now. If you were in your 1800s, you would, of course, choose to express yourself in that time period, knowing that within that expression, you would limit your choices to much fewer choices than you have at your fingertips right now. Now, your ability to choose is quite large. So the idea that you are destined to have some type of an interaction, something like a contract with another soul, is not necessarily what it once was. Now, use many things in your existence around you to help you understand wider awarenesses of yourself. And of course, relationships are one of the things that tend to do that for you in a very powerful way, if in fact you look at them in that way. But it doesn't mean that once that interaction begins, that you need to continue that interaction, or that perhaps the subject matter that you might have explored with that particular individual, you have already, shall we say, folded into your awareness. And so, in that regard, any potential meeting that you may have planned may no longer need to come about. And so, again, there's a great deal of flexibility here. What the inner you will do all the time, because it is you, it will pay attention to the exploration that you chose to have in this existence. And by that, what we mean is that you were aware as you expressed an incarnation within this time period, quote unquote, that this shift would be going on. You'd be aware of what it would mean for all of you. You were aware of what it would mean for your own increased awareness and all the things that would give you the potential to become increasingly aware of who and what you are. But you can use many, many, many things to do that. So that theme is a powerful theme in all of your lives. And it can take many forms. It can be expressed in many forms. So a particular unnegotiable event is not really what will happen in your life. There may be a strong potential that something may happen in your life. But again, even if it occurs, you can choose what to do with it in that moment. Again, depending on where you are in the allowance that you give yourself to choose, which is an important thing. So one is really not more powerful for you than the other one is. It really just depends on, and we'll term it this way in the moment, the needs that you have in that moment to have particular experiences that allow you the potential to understand yourself in a deeper way.
So if it's regarding a like a life path or purpose or what have you, it's not a relationship with anyone. It's just this path versus this path, and this path I can't seem to let go of, and I don't. Is, so what you're saying, right, is we are not really in a time where there are any kind of soul paths or purposes or contracts. It's pretty much everything's up in the air for this time period, and there really is no one way that my soul is steering me towards or away from.
As an example, with the families that we were speaking about and the alignment that you can have with those families, you may have an interest in moving into a type of employment where you're helping people. And that's an intent, that's a theme. But you may do it as a therapist. You may do it as a dentist. You may do it as someone who teaches people weight training. You may do it as an individual that is a doctor. You may do it in many, many, many different ways. There's no one particular way that you will express that particular intent because there are many ways to express it. There's a great deal of flexibility. So there's been within, especially in the earlier years, and some of that is carried forward, ideas expressed that, and again, things have become much more flexible, where the idea of how you need to explore was considered to be fairly rigid. And especially in this new millennium, it is no longer that. Those ideas are ideas really that belong more to the early parts of your 1900s, but ideas that became familiar to people as they explored consciousness from about the point of your mid 1900s and a little bit forward of that. And so at one point, they were much more applicable to your exploration. Now, it really is, as you mentioned later, much more flexible. There may be a general direction, but there's many, many, many ways to explore those directions.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
D'setu, thank you very much for this
Very welcome.
exploration and this co-creation. Um, I have some thoughts about what you were saying. I really appreciate your teaching. I feel that's exactly what I needed to hear today. Um, One thing that I find not easy is judgment. I tend to look at things either bad or good, right or wrong. And your teaching today spoke about that, and I appreciate that. Um,
So, in that, if we
how,
may pause for just a second,
yes.
please realize that frequently with all of you, what occurs when you are presented with something that is not your preference, that the energy that you feel is sometimes of strong aversion to what it is that's being expressed by another individual.
Mhm.
There's nothing, well, first of all, there's nothing wrong with any way that you respond. But as far as acceptance is concerned, that does not mean that you can't feel that way and still be accepting that it's valid for them. What you're feeling in the moment is something that underlines to you what your preference is. And it can be a strong moment, a strong emotion in that moment that tells you this is not my direction. And it's just
Mhm.
really that. It's a reinforcement of that. Now, if it stays and continues, then you may have something that you might want to work on as far as judgmentalism.
Yes, yes. And the impulse wanting to act and change things and help other people that I feel need help. Um, how does one deal with that aspect of, of of the impulse of wanting to help, make this a better world, try to change things physically, act?
Yes. So, of course, there are many ways that you can provide guidance for other individuals, help for other individuals. So, as all of you have come to understand and are understanding deeper and deeper all the time, really, foundationally, the greatest help that you can provide somebody, if they help at an opening to it, is this type of an awareness, because this will change their life for them. Now,
Okay.
if that's not an opening, then provide aid in whatever way feels right to you in the moment to provide aid. We would suggest, however, that attempt not to, how do we want to phrase it? This may be a little blunt, but burden yourself as you do that. It should not feel as if you are constricting your own existence as you are helpful to other individuals, because that alters the way that your energy then reaches out and affects other individuals around you. Of the two things, what you can do physically and the effect that you have energetically, in particular, again, in this time period, it's what you do energetically that is going to have the greater impact. And you don't even have to do it intentionally. It will occur as you live the type of life that feels natural for you to live. That energy, as it pervades your collective, helps lean other people in the same direction, which allows them making the choices that they want to make easier for them. It's a very powerful thing to do, but you're not aware yet of what your energy does as it moves through your collective.
Mhm.
Not that there's anything wrong with helping individuals in a physical way either. So help individuals in whatever way feels natural you to do, but attempt not to, perhaps we'll say, overextend yourself so that it negatively affects you. We'll just use that language as you do it.
That is very helpful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you telling me to go, Ray?
I'm telling you to go.
Okay.
Where is she going to go to?
I'm gonna. My first stop is a question.
Mm,
um, I was thinking about what you said also. So my question is in a similar alignment to Anita's. Um, and my question is um, that if I do find myself feeling bothered or negative about something somebody else is doing, the way they're expressing themselves through action or whatever they're doing, and I go to look within, where should I look? What should I Is there a type of question I can ask myself? Is there some, or
indeed.
what is the process?
So many of you are proficient at identifying the emotional states that you're involved with. So attempt to identify the emotions that you're feeling at the time that you're feeling them. And realize, or we will suggest to you in this moment, that in your reality, you utilize emotions in two ways. You utilize them as a foundational experience within your reality, one that is not expressed in many realities at all, and utilize them as a form of communication to help to convey to you what beliefs you're utilizing in that moment that are associated with the circumstance that you find yourself within. Now, again, you're free to utilize any beliefs that you want to in this expression of yours, as of course are other individuals. And so, if you can identify the emotion, and then you can identify perhaps, okay, so what is it that I believe about myself, about that interaction, about whatever, that then leads that emotion to being part of my experience. And if you can understand a little bit about why your response was like that, then now you have something to work with. You have something that you can explore. You know, something that you can choose to make some changes in if you want to. At the same time, if you can, realize that this movement that you're all involved with right now is something that you have yet to do on your planet. It's a new movement. It is, even though you are familiar with yourself as, perhaps we'll call it consciousness or spirit, within the expression of your physical reality and the centuries and the millennia that you have historically, quote unquote, behind you, this is very unfamiliar. The changes that all of you are going through right now are very unfamiliar. You are used to judging things as right or wrong, good or bad, better or worse. That is your history. You are doing something very different now. There is not a lot of energy backing up what you're doing within your physical existence, within this particular dimension. Does it surround you? Yes. But it's not what you've expressed. In that, do what you can to help yourself understand situations. Do not judge yourself in that if you would have rather have it responded in a different way. There is no helpfulness to you if you do that. Again, all of you here are doing something that is very in the flow of time that you've experienced unfamiliar to all of you. Allow yourself the process. Know that you will move through the process. Know that you will become familiar with yourself in a different way. It is going to happen. It's only how is it going to happen? That is the question for all of you right now. And when I say all of you, what I'm really speaking of is each of you individually. You will all have your own pathway to that awareness that you will come to. This is not in question right now. You will have that awareness. It's only a question of how will you get there. So be gentle with yourself as you're in your process. Attempt to express yourself in the way that you would most like to express yourself. But again, realize it is a process. Allow it to be that. Allow yourself to have your preferences. And if you think that other people should have your preferences sometimes too, that's fine. There's not a problem with that. You can revisit it at a different time in a different way if you would like to. Just don't judge yourself in the moment that you didn't quite express yourself in the way that you want to. You will express yourself at some point in that way. You will express yourself in that way. There is no question that you will do that. You will. Again, the only question is, in your terms, how will you get there and what length of time might it take?
Thank you.
And that is in for the questions D'setu. If you have a parting message to us, otherwise, looks like it's time to bring Chuck back into our energetic realm.
Again, we'll express the same thing that we love to express with individuals when we gather with individuals like yourselves. There is a lot to become familiar with about yourselves. You have a tendency to hold the bar high, and that's okay, but just attempt to be gentle with yourself if you fail to jump over that bar on occasion, or maybe frequently. Really, it does not make a difference. You all are quite aware from that expansive part of yourself the challenges that you are, shall we say, facing simply within the process that you've set yourself to shift. And you are doing this really in a very, very rapid way. All of the changes that your planet saw in your 1900s occurred in a century. And all of those changes were changes that weren't really huge changes that scandalized your consciousness, shall we say. This change is something completely different. It's a change in your state of being. Now it's going to be a change in the state of being back to what you know yourself to be, but not what you consider yourself to be. So gentleness is the way to do it. Be gentle with yourselves. And we'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much. Well done, both of you, Chuck. I should say all of you, because Willow's there providing her energy as well.
Willow's sculpting at the moment.
Oh, well, good. Everybody's bringing creative
Mm.
energies. Anyone else have anything for Chuck?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. I mean, what you said was so timely and exactly what I needed to hear today. Um, Really, it hit home. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, Anita. It's, I know typically the way it works is that I have some idea about a little bit of the direction of what's going to be shared when I start. And then after that, none. It's like I think at the last Embracing Boundlessness session, it was more a group session than anything else. And I really had no idea whether D'setu was going to step into the mix or not. And then all of a sudden, it's like, poof, there they were in a big way. I've always feel them. But yeah, they were right there. And so I said, okay, and it was like, then of course, and what helped me a lot with this process in the early parts of it was something that actually Chris shared through Surge quite a number of years ago. That really, if you pay attention as you have a conversation with somebody, that's only the first few words that you say in that conversation that you actually choose consciously. The rest of it just flows out from someplace. The dialogue goes back and forth, and you're not choosing those words one after the other as you say them. They're just flowing out automatically. And where are they coming from? They're coming from the same place that what I just did comes from, what Bashar comes from, what whoever. It doesn't make any difference. It's all the same stuff. But you're doing it all the time anyway. And so, yeah.
It I always feel like you're talking directly to me. So thank you.
Yeah, well, that bigger you and my bigger you and in cahoots when it comes to this kind of stuff. So,
Right.
yeah, it's got to kind of work like that.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot. It's really nice.
In cahoots, that's for sure. That's really funny because, I got to hang out with, Dante today too, and which normally I'm in an art class, but today for some reason something told me to attend his hangout today, and then right following that, I was in a like a 2 or 3 hour long light language and channeling event, but the synchronicity that I wanted to share.
I can't hear you any longer, Wendy.
Share with
Maybe
you was
that's on
that
purpose.
absolutely you covered. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
I just wanted to say that you covered every single topic that we covered in the entire day, really. Like everything, just in that 1 hour time, or how long it's been. It was just so synchronistic that every single topic that you covered today was that you covered tonight was everything we talked about today. Everything.
I
So
love that type of connectivity and how we express it with ourselves. And, in my life, I know that, as I go through my life, and I know all you guys are having these experiences too, where that kind of stuff shows up more and more and more all the time. It's just, we're just, supporting ourselves with the idea of how connected we all are all the time.
Way to manifest, Wendy and Dave.
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Hmm.
But isn't it all? I mean, isn't that what this is all about too? Is recognizing that everything is a synchronicity?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Everything.
Thanks for adding. Cool. We're going to go ahead and wrap this session up.